This week's episode is brought to you by Tonal.
Tonal is a smart at-home gym that replaces every machine in the weight room and has personal training programs built in so you never have to go to the gym again.
And the best part, Tonal has a sleek design and looks like a TV on your wall.
No bulky weights or racks, and unlike other products that are just cardio, with Tonal you can get a full body workout with real weight up to 200 pounds of resistance.
Tonal coaches can offer you instruction for a variety of workout styles.
Full body muscle building and multi-week weight loss programs.
High intensity classes.
Bike and tread specific programs.
Upper body, lower body, and core specific workouts. Try Tonal for 30 days risk-free.
Visit www.tonal.com for $100 off the smart accessories when you use the promo code TheClipOut at checkout.
That's www.tonal.com, promo code CLIPOUT.
Be your strongest.
One of the number one things, Crystal, and one of the reasons that I wanted to be on your show and share is because I can't tell you how many people will go on there and say, I go to my doctor, I get tested, they tell me nothing's wrong with me, all my levels are normal, and I'm losing my mind, because they're having all these symptoms and someone's telling them that there's nothing wrong with them. When I went to my normal doctor after I went to Dr. Minnie, and I said, hey, I need to give you these test results. I've tested for celiac and Hashimoto's. She was shocked. And she said, I would have never tested you for this. She said, you had no symptoms of this.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 169. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hi.
Hi.
I'm looking for the show notes, sorry.
Tom's super prepared.
It's only the 169th episode. I need time to get up to speed.
Okay, so Tom, I'm kind of throwing an audible at you. If you're not ready to discuss this publicly, let me know.
What are you doing?
I was thinking about letting everybody know my latest moral dilemma.
Oh, yeah. You do have a moral dilemma.
I do. Okay. Moral might be the wrong word, but it's definitely a dilemma. So, as you guys all know, I love my Android. But
she's contemplating making the switch.
I am. Okay, so here's the deal. I've had some opportunities to be part of some really cool, informational things with newer, what do you call them? New programs.
Fitness tech devices.
Yeah. And the thing is that they only work with Apple. So I am like a hair's breadth away from making the switch. So I'm sure this opens me up to much snarkiness.
Yes, your birthday is just around the corner, and I think we could get you an iPhone for your birthday, and then for your birthday dinner, we could take you out for some crow.
But here's the thing. Do I have to eat the crow if I still don't think that Apple is the better product?
I don't know.
Do I have to eat the crow then?
I don't know.
If I'm only doing it to have access to other things.
I'm just saying being fat and lazy is really paying off for me right about now.
All right. Well, I'm like I said, I'm sure that opens me up to all kinds of ridicule, snarkiness.
I have no doubt.
Bring it on, guys.
So I guess while you wait for that avalanche, what do you have in store for people this week?
I don't even know.
Now who's not prepared?
Well,
Come on, we've done 168 of these.
Peloton had an update for the Android this week, ironically.
Drove you away.
We've got some rumors that we're going to discuss. We've got some new stuff heading out to the UK, visit with Dr. Jenn Mann. And we've got some really cool, interesting stuff happening in the Peloton, in the news about Peloton, and some cool stuff going on with our instructors.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, which Crystal can't wait to access. For all you Luddites, you can also find us on Spotify or Google Podcasts. iHeart, wherever you find it, you should be able to find us. While you're there, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And also, maybe leave us a review so people that are coming along behind you know if we're worth a listen. We have a new review.
Ooh.
This is from Titanium Foot.
Oh. I don't know that one.
They say, I got my bike in early 2018, but didn't start listening regularly until about a year ago. I love my Friday morning commute to hear all things Peloton. Crystal and Tom have infectious chemistry. I enjoy listening in. And thanks to Tom, I've learned a few things about pop culture, too. So see, it's not all a waste.
Depends on who's listening.
I saw a post on the FB page which mentioned some of the prior guests, and since then I've gone back and I'm listening from the beginning. It's so interesting to hear how much has changed, and yet nothing has changed at the same time. The instructor interviews are certainly worth a listen. So thank you. And the leaderboard name is Titanium_Foot. So,
well, thank you for that very nice review.
Yes, thank you very much. And if you would like to stay up to date throughout the week, you can find us over on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. If you just can't get enough of hearing us, you can also see us now at youtube.com/theclipout. We're filming these episodes in their entirety. So if we mention something that sounds like it has a visual component, or you want to see the faces Crystal makes when I upset her, youtube.com/theclipout, and of course our newsletter that you can sign up for at theclipout.com. So that's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
New content.
There was an update to the Android app this week. This is the first in 6.5 years?
Something like that. Sure felt like that long. So now you too, Android users, can use a Bluetooth HR monitor to be able to see your heart rate when you use the app. But here's the thing.
Uh-oh, there's a thing.
Yeah, so a lot of Garmin's only use A&T. So if you have an Android, often you have a Garmin watch or a Fitbit, both of which have A&T.
Wait, I don't know what that means.
It doesn't transmit over Bluetooth. It transmits over A&T.
What is
A&T?
I've never heard that before.
I don't know. It's different technology. It's like Bluetooth, but it's a different technology. It's like, I mean, every time you see workout things, it'll say A&T.
Oh, okay.
It's just
why I've
thing.
never heard of it.
Yeah, that pretty much explains it. But anyway, the point being that there's still a whole lot of people that can't do anything with this.
Right.
And just to be clear, Peloton Apple app has had it for the entire time the app has existed. Almost the entire time.
Gotcha.
So, but hey, maybe they will finally, now that they're actually working on it again, maybe they will start rolling out some other stuff, because they are woefully behind at this point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they've been getting some pushback from people. Who knows? Especially as they've seen an influx of people come in. There's a lot of people that...
I don't know when they're going to catch on to the fact that other countries don't love Apple as much as we do.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It is like my one really annoying thing about Peloton that it's just irritating, because the thing that is causing me to think about getting Apple products is the fact that developers tend to develop for Apple first. I mean,
right.
According to what I was told, is that 96% of people are on the latest Apple platform at any one time. Only 26% of people are on the latest Android app at any one time, platform, which is why developers tend to develop for Apple and then later stabilize it and then later send it out to Android. So I get that.
Right.
But it's been like a year and a half, almost 2 years since Peloton has done any major updates for Android. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah. Instead, they were pushing out everything else.
Yeah.
So it's very frustrating for this Android user.
Soon to be previous Android user.
I don't know.
See, that's why people need to watch us on YouTube. So they can see that face right there.
To be determined.
So there was a little rumor you stumbled on this week.
Yeah. So apparently, I don't want to say how I heard.
Sure.
But I heard that Peloton is working on creating boot camps that are specific to the bike. So right now when you do a boot camp, it is directed toward the tread. You run, it'll show on your screen, it shows you running, and then you hop off, use the weights, etc. The thing about that is that if you use the bike, you can't see the tread classes that are boot camps.
Right.
So the only way right now to use your bike is to use the app, which if you have an Android product
is problematic.
Right. And then you still have your heart rate issue to deal with the Android and all that. So a lot of people, what they do is they use it, if they're going to use their bike, then they use an iPad and they set it up on their bike, and then they're able to switch back and forth. The other thing that, this is an assumption on my part, I would think that if they do this, if this is true, they're going to have one transition per class versus 2 or more transitions per class on the tread, because you would have to change your shoes. So it would be awkward to get off the unclip, change shoes, get back on if you had to get back on.
Sure, no, that makes total sense.
So that's what I'm thinking if it's true.
Right.
So we will see. The other part of the rumor is that there will be yoga that has weights with it. Yoga classes that include the weights. So kind of a yoga sculpt kind of thing.
Okay.
That's very exciting. And as soon as I told people that, everybody was like, why haven't they done Pilates? Why haven't they added boxing? Why haven't they added bar? I was like, I don't know everything.
Settle down.
I don't have the roadmap, guys.
So do you think this change signifies anything about the rumored new bikes that are coming?
I did see a post that somebody posted in the Clip Out group, and I actually thought it was a pretty good theory. They thought that this could be timed around the new bike coming out, the premium one.
Right.
And that perhaps, and this is all theorizing, guys, maybe the new bike has a swivel monitor that you can turn around when you hop off the bike to do the other half of the boot camp.
Interesting.
Yes. Again, all speculation.
Sure.
The only thing that, like, the rumor I'm hearing, I feel like has like actual weight behind, but the rest of that is speculation based on just kind of how Peloton works. Yeah, exactly.
But it seems like a solid theory.
It does. I thought it was a super solid theory. Ben Lankman, I think, posted that in the Clip Out group. So I was like, it's actually pretty solid.
I would concur.
We'll see.
The Peloton comeback program is so successful that they're launching it overseas.
They are. Officially today, they launched it in the UK. So now the comeback can also be brought back in the UK. That's great. They said to date that in the US they have given away 600 bikes so far.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm surprised that there wasn't like some British term for comeback.
Oh, give it time.
The tally ho.
Give it time. You know, because they don't say PRs. They say personal best.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't say great job. They say brilliant. And they don't say I'm mad about that. They say I'm gutted. So
let's not even talk about cigarettes.
No. Let's stop there.
Stopping there.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Back again for her much-loved weekly segment, Dr. Jenn. She's licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jenn or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn, her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy, and 5-year national team member in rhythmic gymnastics and sports psychology for USA Gymnastics, Dr. Jenn. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
So I don't have this week's topic in front of me. What are we talking about this time? I think
don't worry, I've got it covered.
Okay, what
I've got it covered. So this week, I would like to ask Jenn, how do you go about getting your partner to work out?
So until next week, where can people find you?
Not that this is an issue in your relationship at all.
No wonder I wasn't informed of this.
Well, you know, in some situations, not that you would be familiar with this at all, Tom.
No.
Sometimes things from one's past holds one back from exercise. Like sometimes, for example, just hypothetically.
Sure, just spitballing.
If you came from a family where they really pushed exercise on you and you rebelled by going to the opposite extreme, it's important to let such a partner really understand that when you do that, your family still has control over you, that in your desire to to not let them control you in your rebellion, you're actually letting them totally control you and harm your future and your health, because as we all know, exercising is healthy. It helps us to live a long time. It helps us have better immune systems. And some people whose name might start with a T has a wife who loves him desperately and wants him to live a very long time. And there are a lot of listeners who want to be listening to this podcast for a very long time. So just hypothetically, sometimes that happens, Crystal, but not that you know anyone like that.
Wow. It's like, no, I don't know anybody like that, but I'm sure whoever might be listening, who might be in that particular circumstance, I bet they agree with you wholeheartedly.
I'm sure they do. Don't they, Tom?
Theoretically. I mean, in the abstract. So what do you do to jumpstart this monster?
Well, I think first of all, it's important for everybody to find what exercise works for them. And what works for Crystal may not work for Tom. What works for Jen may not work for Eric. And, Eric is a big tonal guy. I'm a hardcore Peloton woman. And, and my kids who are very athletic have dabbled in both. And so it's really important to find what works for you. And if you have a partner that hasn't worked out in a long time or isn't as active as you are, encouraging them to start small. And I think, look, Crystal, you and I are hardcore exercisers at this point. Like we are not your average, as I'm sure most of your listeners are, that to have a partner like you or me who works out 7 days a week, who works out a lot, who's always talking Peloton and tonal and stuff, it can be a little intimidating and make it hard for a partner to start with small increments, because there's a tendency to think all or nothing, or if I'm not at your level, or if I'm not working out as much as you, it doesn't count or it doesn't matter. But I think that really the key is for people who have super exercising partners and you're the person who's not, is to really start small manageable goals. And I'm talking small, like 5 minutes. Like I'm going to spend 5 minutes on the tread, or I'm going to take a 5-minute abs class, and to try to build on that. And, things like Fitbit can be really helpful in tracking steps, also just kind of making some exercise goals. And if you don't want to share it with your partner, because sometimes it becomes too contentious with your partner. Like a lot of the time, one of the reasons why couples therapy can be particularly effective is because we don't hear things as well from our partners as we do from other people. So if you make those goals, if you're not comfortable saying to your partner, hey, my goal this week is to work out for 10 minutes on Tuesday and Thursday, and, I'm going to do 20 minutes this week. If you don't want to share it with your partner because you're worried that they're going to judge you or they're going to nag you or anything like that, write it down and put it someplace where they won't necessarily see it, or share it with another friend, or find an exercise buddy that's separate from your partner that you can do a FaceTime workout with, or you can be accountable to one another and support one another. But sometimes it gets too complicated and emotional with our actual partner, and we have to kind of pull back from that and kind of find our own way. And then eventually, once we found our own way, we can kind of join our partner in some of the activities together.
So what I'm hearing is it's her fault.
What?
Right?
It's
no?
always Tom, always. But you know what they say, happy wife, happy life.
I wish there was something cool that rhymed with husband.
Yeah, not so much.
We got nothing, man.
It could be hubs. We could talk about cubs.
Yeah.
Tubs. That works.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Maybe this will even air. Who knows?
Oh, it will definitely
because she
air.
puts the shows together. So I'm lazy in more ways than just exercise.
Yeah, I was like, well, you could feel free to go ahead and put the episode together.
But Tom, I gotta argue with you there. I don't think you're lazy. I think
don't
you're
either.
actually the very disciplined person. You work very hard professionally. You work very hard on this podcast. You've never once been late. You're always prepared. Like, you're a very disciplined guy, which also really points to your resistance to exercise is not about discipline. It's about your history. And it's really important to work through that history. And look, not only am I a therapist, but I am a client of therapy as well. I've had tons and tons of therapy, decades of therapy to work on my stuff. And if you, and I'd say the collective you, anyone listening, are finding that you're having a block to accomplishing something that is good for your health and your well-being, and you just can't seem to get yourself past that, therapy is a really great tool in overcoming that and really examining that and moving past that. And most therapists now in a pandemic, one of the pieces of good news about the pandemic is that almost all therapists are offering teletherapy and telemedicine, which didn't used to be the case. You can do it from your own home. You don't have to miss the commute time. You can pay with a credit card. Things have become easier in terms of getting therapy in that way. And there are lots of therapists who will lower their fee. There are clinics who have low cost options of telemedicine. And it's really important. Anything that holds you back in your life, it's important to address the issue.
Those are all very good points.
Absolutely.
I know we like to tease Tom, but for anybody out there who actually wants to work on it, yes, those are all very, very good pieces of advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that. Until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me on all my social media at Dr. Jenn Mann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Mann, on my website, Dr. Jenn, spelled out DoctorJenn.com. And also my InStyle magazine column comes out every Wednesday, Hump Day with Dr. Jenn.
Awesome. Thank you.
Peloton in the news.
From one Jen to another, Jenn Sherman was featured in New Jersey Monthly.
She was.
Nice little article there about her.
Yeah. I really like how they talked about how she was the very first Peloton instructor.
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to try sharing my screen. Let's see what happens here. So it goes on to talk about how she pedaled her way to virtual stardom. And get this, she is 51 years old, the oldest Peloton instructor. And nice. The first Peloton instructor. Can you believe that she has been working at Peloton since May of 2013?
Holy cow.
I mean, in Peloton years, that's a long freaking time.
That is a long time.
Yeah. And of course, we've heard the story about how they all started in the closet.
In the little closet. Yeah.
I love that story. And then it talks about how she grew up in Fort Lee, which is local to New Jersey.
Gotcha.
So I have no idea what that means. And of course, she loves Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel. And it talks about her My Mixtape rides that include them. And then there's a little bit about COVID. So
it's weird to think as someone from the Midwest that like you could like go to a Bruce Springsteen concert and be like, I just like to support local music.
I'm just here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Supporting the local music scene, Springsteen, Bon Jovi, Frank Sinatra.
Do we have anybody like that locally?
I think the closest we've got here is we got Nelly.
Okay.
And then before that, man, I think you got to go back to Chuck Berry.
That's a bit of a skip.
There's a long gap there. A long gap. So the next story we discovered comes from, of all places, LinkedIn.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
When did that start?
Well, they have been placing some articles out there, but, Peloton is very clickable these days.
That it is.
So this is all talking about Robin Arzon's career changes. Say yes before you think you are ready. Now, I have sat through many a women's advocate program.
Yes.
And they say this is something I typically hear, that if you are, women especially,
right,
need to be in the mindset of, if you are comfortable about a job that you're looking at, you're overqualified. If it scares the crap out of you, that's the one you want to go after.
Right.
And so I think that Robin is also saying a lot of other things here about being inspired and loving what you do.
Yeah.
Because we can't all do that. But she also is saying that. And I think regardless of what you do, I think that is true.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I know that, I've reminded you of that when you were going after a job one time and you were like, oh, I don't know. They list like 12 things and these last 3 I don't really know. And I'm like, well, they're the last 3 for a reason. F it.
You know what's funny about that? I heard a statistic that men, they have let's say there's 5 categories that are important for a job category. Right. They will have 1 or 2 and apply for the job. Women feel they have to have 5.
Right.
Maybe they might try it with 4. And I find that fascinating. Yeah. And it is very true. Very true. I shouldn't say it absolutely is because I haven't talked to all women, but I've seen you do it and I've had to kind of talk you out of it. So you absolutely have. Well, stop by LinkedIn or stop by facebook.com/theclipout, or of course you can be on our newsletter and you'll get this right there.
Get sent right to you. Just sign up for that at theclipout.com. And then morningbrew.com.
Yeah, what did you think of this? I'm curious what your thoughts were about this one. I'm pulling it up now.
Tell me what it said.
Oh, this is talking about how we have 2 new marketing leaders for Peloton.
Okay.
So this actually launched after we aired last week. So for those of you who have not heard the news, there are 2 new lead marketers. So it used to be Carolyn Tish Blodgett was the VP of marketing.
Okay.
And now we have Kara Kogan will be heading up product marketing, and we have Dara Treseder, who has worked at both Apple and GE, and she will now be Peloton's Senior VP, Head of Global Marketing and Communication. So this particular article I thought was interesting because they kind of took 2 things that happened this year as far as the changes in marketing in general. There were a lot of reasons for companies to make changes in their marketing with COVID.
Sure.
And all the just the entire world has been in a different place this year.
I've noticed.
Yeah, who hasn't, right? But also, whenever Peloton made such a strong stance with Black Lives Matter.
Right.
So this is also interesting because it says in this article, hiring Treseder, a Black woman for the role, is one step toward Peloton CEO and co-founder John Foley making good on his June promise to make Peloton leadership more diverse. If you zoom out, Peloton sales surged 66% year over year in its 3rd quarter, held its largest class in April, and became so popular during the pandemic that Ad Age claimed Peloton doesn't even need marketing. Their takeaway, Treseder and Kogan will be tasked with riding the company's unexpected momentum into 2021, and hopefully this time with better ads.
Yeah, that would be an interesting position to be in. Hi, we'd like you to take over our marketing. Also, we're not doing any. Okay, I guess I'll just sit here and read a book. Let me know when you want to fire things back up.
Right? Oh, too funny. Too funny.
And TN Content Exchange, whatever that means.
It means an exchange of content.
In Tennessee.
Yeah.
Has an article about Jennifer Jacobs.
It does. So for those of you who have been Peloton patrons for a while, you would know that Jennifer Jacobs used to be an instructor for Peloton, much loved instructor. There was a lot of sadness when she left the company. Well, she has a couple of new gigs. This one was just announced this week. She is going to be an instructor on ladder teams. So it is an interesting fitness experience that is totally different than what anybody else is doing out there. What I understand is you can get personal training from this, and you can take different classes from different people. Now, it is pricey. It's $59 a month. But if you've been missing Jennifer Jacobs and you really want to take her training, this is your opportunity.
So are these like classes or are these like one-on-one sessions?
My understanding is it's classes.
Okay.
But I think that it reaches out to a wide variety of people. So it's like a class similar to Peloton would be, where she's reaching many people at once, is my understanding. But it's still in certain time slots. That's my understanding. Having said that, it's on Apple only. So I don't know. You get to try it for a week for free, and I totally plan on doing that. I've got some other.
So you are getting an Apple phone?
Well, I thought of nothing else. I could try it on the iPad that I use for FightCamp. Mm-hmm. So maybe I am.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm on to you.
This close.
I'm on to you.
But if I get an Apple Watch, it's a huge savings.
Oh, well, we wouldn't want to not save.
Right.
Can we afford to not get an iPhone?
I don't think we can, Tom. I don't think we can. So this particular company, Ladder Teams, is described as the Slack of fitness for its emphasis on community and team engagement.
I thought I was the Slack of
No,
fitness.
you're the slacker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, who's stealing my mantle?
And one thing that's really cool about this, you can chat one-on-one with your coach, or you can connect via their team group chat. So you can really have great conversation with your coaches. And I chatted with Jennifer Jacobs offline, like we were just instant messaging. And she really seems excited about the community aspect of this. So I think she might be missing that from Peloton.
Sure.
And really looking forward to engaging with people again on that same like mass level.
Totally.
You know, so I don't know. We'll see how this works, and if anybody tries it, let me know. If I ever get an Apple product, change back to if, then I will try it too. I definitely plan on trying it if I get an Apple product.
And speaking of that iPad you used for FightCamp,
yes.
How's that going?
It's going great. I will be honest. I had to take a little time off because I'm preparing this week for
your corn tread.
My corn tread. But FightCamp is amazing. You know, I've said this a million times. I love to be able to do the core workout. You get a great HIIT workout. You can keep it short. It's perfect to add after a strength training workout. Just perfect. Love it.
I come down there sometimes and see you bouncing around just from like thing to thing.
Well, I'm not like a ping pong ball.
Well, a little bit.
Well, I do love that we have a home gym. It's pretty awesome.
So are you still doing the kickboxing or are you doing something else?
I've been going back to the regular boxing. I think that for me to get into the kickboxing, it was tons of fun, but it's also a lot of work. And it made me realize how many imbalances I have in my lower body. And I need to take the classes that actually lead you through the path of kickboxing, I think, to feel like I'm more confident to do
I get that.
a class.
Totally.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I loved it, though. Definitely will be doing that again.
And we heard from our FightCamp winner, Karen DiDonato.
Yes.
I think I said that right.
I think you did too. She said we finally got it right at the end last time we attempted it.
And she was very excited. She already has it.
Well, she has parts of it.
Okay.
She was still waiting on the final piece. Like I think she's still waiting on the bag, but she got
gotcha.
2 boxes. I don't know what was in each box.
Gotcha.
So she's got 2 of 3.
But she was very excited.
Very excited, yes. And she has promised a video when she finally gets it. So
Can't wait.
I can't.
So, if you want to check out FightCamp, you can go to joinfightcamp.com.
Peloton birthdays.
We have a whole slew of birthdays, or we just had a whole slew of Peloton-related birthdays.
That's right. We had 3 instructors this week celebrate birthdays. Alex Toussaint, and then we had, actually, maybe it was 4. I think we had 4. Olivia, and then we had Jess Sims and Christine Diercole.
How about that?
Woo! Got a lot of August birthdays. It makes sense, though, really, Leos.
Oh, I just thought you meant that, like, people like to do it at Thanksgiving time.
Sure.
I was just adding 9 months, and did I do the math right?
I don't know. I never did the math. Sounds about right, though.
So, speaking of Alex Toussaint,
yes,
he had a nice little launch.
He did. He's been talking about doing a shop for a little bit, and this one he just launched, and he launched it. Gosh, I don't remember what day it was, but the day that he did it, launched at noon. Okay, and I logged in 15 minutes later to make a purchase because it's me.
You're you.
I'm me.
Yeah.
And it's great looking. Look at this. This is beautiful stuff. This is gorgeous.
Oh, nice.
And
and for people watching at YouTube, they can actually see us scroll through this.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the reminder. But I was already order 143 and 15 minutes in.
Nice.
Yeah. And somebody posted somewhere like they had kind of added up what his total was that day of sales, and it was crazy high the first day. So like people have been clamoring for this. This is great. This is wonderful. Congratulations to Alex and happy birthday to all the instructors.
Live DJ rides are back.
They are for the first time in a long time. 8:14, 6 p.m. Eastern, Robin Arzon and DJ John Michael in the studio, socially distant, to have the first live DJ ride in like months.
A long time.
Like March.
People will be those are so popular. People will be very excited to have this back.
It is such a great way to wind up your week. I mean, it's like it really is a party on the bike. For people who like to go out and have a happy hour and they want to be healthy, or right now it's COVID and maybe in their area they're not comfortable going to a bar.
Sure.
This is a great substitute. I know it's not alcohol, but
Right.
it's endorphins and they're almost as good.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah.
If you say so.
I do.
I don't really partake in much of either.
You've got your own natural high.
Peloton 2020 has officially come to a close.
It sure has.
Your thoughts?
Let's just say, first of all, it's really cool what Peloton did here. At the end of the day, they donated $1 million to nonprofit partners fighting hunger in our communities. That's really cool.
That's absolutely cool.
And that's what this was all about.
Sure.
Now, did I feel like it was the best challenge? I feel like it was a little clunky, you know? It could have been better, but it was also the first one they've done on this scale.
I would say that's a really large scale to orchestrate a challenge where, like, when the groups do them, not that some of the groups aren't large, but that, you know, you have people that are all there for similar reasons. And so, like, you can tailor it to your crowd.
Yeah,
where here,
that's a good point.
You can't tailor it
yeah,
to
it's
a
like
crowd.
you're always saying about music and pop culture, it's got to be mass appeal. So
Right.
this had to be mass appeal. It also had to be something that could work on every single platform.
Right.
And it had to be something that people could do on their schedules. And you're talking about countries that are wildly diverse in time zone changes.
Sure.
So let's just run through the numbers here really fast. 324,790 members took part.
Wow.
Yes. And then we have at the very top, Grit and Grace Gang had 48,269 members, 14,000 of which hit every single goal.
Wow.
Yes. There's their top classes, which again, if you're on YouTube, you'll see this. Legends of Fun, 67,000 members, 18,000 of which hit all 4 weekly goals.
Nice.
Unstoppables. Okay, so here is...
They were stopped.
They were stopped. The Unstoppables were so stoppable, you guys. What happened? What happened? Only 7,943 people hit all 4 weekly goals. I'm sad about that.
Sad trombone.
Sad trombone indeed. And then we have the Breakthrough Crew, 79,000 members, 25,497 hit all 4 weekly goals. The No Limit Legion, 60,000 enrolled, 19,000 hit all 4 weekly goals. House of Shine, 36,000 members joined, 9,945 hit all 4 weekly goals. So yeah, again, unstoppable, totally freaking stoppable.
But if you add that all up, that's a lot of people that did all 4 things.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is amazing how many people did all of those things. And, you know, the point was to be able to show solidarity and get together as a team. And Peloton did their part, donated a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Because we all showed up. And that's the important thing. So the competitor in me, not so happy. The person who loves Peloton and is happy that they do cool things like this for the community, A+.
So it looks like everybody's going to be busting out their berets of the raspberry variety.
I think that they will. And they will be partying like it's 1999, which even though we were all terrified in 1999, turns out much better than 2020.
This is true.
We didn't see this one coming at all.
I'll take Y2K over Y2 Corona.
Right?
Yeah.
If we had known.
Yes.
If we had known.
So, but there's a Prince artist series. People are going to love that.
They are going to love that. And here's another interesting thing.
When doves sweat.
That's your fat crying.
I would
When dove fat cries.
when I would ride for you.
Would you, Tom?
No.
Would you? Okay.
No, for me, they have a special class. It's called Let's Go Lazy.
Oh, kind of like Let's Go Crazy. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's another cool thing. Just like with the DJ rides returning, we have our first dual instructor ride in a very long time. So we're going to have Emma Lovewell and Allie Love are going to team up today, actually, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the 12th of August. They are going to be together. Then Selena Samuela is doing a full body strength on Thursday, 8/13 at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And Ross Rayburn is doing a yoga flow on the 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then Andy Spear is doing an on-demand run that dropped today on 8/12.
Awesome. And if you do all those, your name won't be Prince, but you will be funky.
And I think it's required that you wear purple.
Yes.
Beret is optional.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Stacey Rivere. Hey, Stacey, how's it going?
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. We should probably address for people that are watching the video of this that Crystal and I aren't together physically like we normally are.
Yeah. Tom didn't want to hang out with me today, so
I have to work. So if anybody wants to run to YouTube, they will get a glimpse of my office. How exciting!
Yeah, I see your Kermie back there.
And a Fozzie. Fozzie and Kermit
back there
together.
It's a little dark. It's a little dark. You need a ring light in your office if we're going to do this on a regular basis, Tom.
We'll get right on that.
Okay.
So anyway, I guess we should dig into the actual interview. Stacey's like, you don't need me for this.
Right. So Stacey, tell us how you originally found Peloton.
So it's kind of funny. I actually found Peloton through Facebook. It was a Facebook ad, and I like to say I'm not OG, but I'm like the second wave of OG because you were right behind me. I was April 2016, and I think you were June or July of 2016. And there was a lot of Facebook ads out about it. And I was a very big outdoor cyclist at the time in Corpus Christi. And I was getting kind of burnt out with outdoor cycling because I don't care what people say. Chicago is not the Windy City. Corpus Christi is the Windy City. And, we used to say the wind was our hills because we didn't have, very many hills there. But it was getting dangerous. There were a lot of cyclists getting hit. I was riding with a group, but a lot of times they would go a lot faster than I wanted to go. And it was like, starting in Corpus in the summer, it's 90 degrees by 7 a.m. So even though you're riding early, it's miserable. And so Peloton came out right at the right time. And I was like, I think I would love that, but nobody had one. Nobody had ever heard of it. There were no stores near me. The closest store was Dallas at that time. And so I bought it, trying it, never trying it, never seeing it, never knowing anybody that had it when I got it.
Oh, you didn't know anybody that had one either. Wow.
I didn't. And I talked to Peloton a lot before I bought it. I had several calls. I had several chats. And my biggest fear was I'm going to get it and I'm not going to like it, but it's going to cost me $500 between paying for shipping coming in and paying for shipping coming out. But I was pretty certain that I would love it. And I did. And 4 years later, I still doing something Peloton related 6 days a week. So I love it.
That's amazing. So would you say, since you were riding all the time, do you feel like you were already fit before you had the Peloton, or did that shift at all when you got Peloton?
I think I was cycling fit. I have very, very strong legs, and I was doing a lot of distance. I was doing at least 100 miles a week. And I was doing a lot of outdoor, like every Saturday was a 25 miler, and then lots of events where they were 50 milers. I did Conquer the Coast, which was a 70 miler going over 2 massive bridges. I'm an endurance rider. I can go for a very, very, very long time. I'm not a sprinter. I'm not fast. Like Crystal, you talk about, you run like a turtle. I'm not a fast cyclist. On the outside, I am on the bike. I've gotten a lot faster on the bike. But the bike, really, once I really got into it, I felt like, actually incorporating all of the Peloton stuff that started coming in, I was fit to 1 degree, one, but not overall as a whole.
Okay.
So I'm curious, you say that you feel like you've gotten faster. Do you think that's just through like repetition, or has there been something that's actually led to you getting faster?
Power zone training. I really, really attribute that to power zone training. And I think, there's always times I want to get on the bike and have some fun, but that's not really my big driver.
Okay.
My big driver is I'm very competitive, and especially against myself. So when I get on the bike, I want to see that I'm achieving something. And I love with the Power Zone training that, every 6 weeks or so you retest if you're good. I haven't retested in a while, and you see your improvement and you're going for that. And then you're on the bike and, Matt saying, hold a zone 5 for 3 minutes. And you're like, oh my God, and then you do it, and then you do it again. And then you realize, oh, I got to retest. But just having that ability to continually make myself better and see my improvement, I think that's what really did it for the most part, was the Power Zone training.
So do you feel like the Power Zone training, do you feel like that it made you more fit and therefore faster? Or do you feel like there's something specific about what they're teaching you? Like, is there like tips or tricks involved that help you get faster?
That's a very good question. I think that it is the tips and the tricks because, like sometimes Matt will have you at, whatever cadence you want, you just need to be at your zone, whatever. And then sometimes he'll be very specific. I want you at a lower cadence, but a higher resistance, or I want you at a, higher resistance, or, you get the general gist.
Sure.
But I think that and also all of the other stuff that he does, like the low impact rides that he does that focus on form and the whole 9 yards. So it's not just let's get on the bike and hit our zones. We are very purposefully driven on what we're trying to accomplish and having an immeasurable way to achieve it. I remember that the number one thing on the OPP for so long was get Power Zone graphs. Thank you, Jackie. On the bike. and we got them. And that's huge. I mean, even when I'm doing other rides, I'm watching what zones that I'm in. So yeah, definitely very focused on a specific outcome and being able to achieve that.
Yeah, and for people who aren't as familiar with Power Zone training, like Tom, so when she's saying low impact rides and that he focuses on certain things, like one thing that Matt does is he teaches pedal strokes. He'll teach you to like use one leg at a time to show you to focus on different muscle groups. So the pulling and the pushing motion, they're always talking about you need to do it in a complete circle. But during those low impact rides, he will go through different drills to really teach you the skills to feel the difference between the pushes and the pulls, so that whenever you're doing any kind of effort, you can feel the full circle all the way around. So it's a big difference once you understand what all of that, how that feels. It's one thing to logically understand. It's another to experience how it feels, I think. And I think that's what you're saying. Like, that's what's so powerful about learning that.
It is.
And I know that you're part of a ton of different groups in Peloton. I see you in a lot of the Facebook groups that I am in, but I know that one that's very special to you is the Autoimmune Warriors. Is that the official name of it, Autoimmune Warriors, or is there a different title?
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look for sure, and I'll get that for you. I think it might be Peloton Autoimmune Warriors, to be specific. But yes, so this is a group that obviously somebody you know very well, Jackie Sincata, one of their prior guests. I think she was the only one you had on twice, if I remember correctly. And I got to meet her at Homecoming last year. She started this group last May in 2019, I believe. And at the time that she'd started it, that January, I had just been diagnosed with celiac disease and with Hashimoto's disease. And I was actually going to Orange Theory, and I was running on a tread next to a lady, and we kind of became friends and started talking. And she was a doctor, and she was focused on hormone imbalance and wellness and fit and health overall. And I was talking to her a little bit about some things I was going through, and she invited me to come to a dinner that she was having where she was going to talk about what her company focused on, which was health and wellness. So I thought, well, I'll just go to be polite. There's probably not going to be very many people that come, and I'll just go to support her and, be nice. And I walked in and the room was packed. I mean, it was almost standing room only. And her message was very good. And the main focus is that the insurance company as a whole focuses on the after and not the before, right? Like, I can get approved for gastric bypass in 5 minutes, but I can't get approved for nutrition, any kind, going to a nutritionist or going to Weight Watchers or anything I'm going to try to do to get healthier or better, but they'll pay for me after. They will pay for me if I was a diabetic, which I'm not, but they'll pay for my diabetes medicine, but not anything to try to prevent it. They'll pay for me to have thyroid medication, but not what can prevent it. And she was really focused on the fact that, it's not health insurance, it's after insurance, it's aftercare. And that resonated with me. So I went to see her, and what she practices is called functional medicine. And one of the reasons that is near and dear in my heart, and thank you for having me on today to talk about it, is because most doctors as a whole only get a couple hours of nutrition training as they go through their practice, but they get hundreds of hours of pharmacy teaching training. So what happens is that when it comes to nutrition and things that really can affect our body, they don't have a lot of the knowledge that other doctors that focus on functional medicine do. So I went to see Minnie. We decided to run a bunch of tests. And I sit down with her and she says, you have celiac and you have Hashimoto's disease. And the first thing I said was, BS. I don't have that. I have no stomach problems. I can eat anything. I used to say I'm the iron stomach, I can eat anything I want. And she said, yes, you do. And I said, Minnie, there's no way that I have celiac disease. I eat gluten all the time. I have no issues with it. She said, do you itch? And I was like, oh my God, I itch all the time. My face itched, my head would itch, my ankles would itch. And she said, not everybody that has celiac disease has problems with their, has stomach pain.
Interesting.
So it was very interesting. And I was like, whoa. So I thought, okay, no big deal. I've gone off gluten before. I can go off gluten. It's not as big a deal. And, when you're first going off gluten, there's a lot of it that's very obvious to you. There is all the stuff that say gluten-free, gluten-free pasta. And it's gotten better because it used to taste like cardboard. Definitely. It was awful. But there's the hidden things that have gluten. And that's where you kind of become your own little detective, right? So like soy sauce. Would have no idea soy sauce would have gluten in it, right? Then as you go through and you start really cleaning up the body, little things will affect you and you don't know why. And that's kind of like where I think of becoming a food detective, because you find out later that things that have gluten in it make no sense. Like some of your supplements have gluten in it. Some of your medication may have gluten in it. And you're like, why would they put that in there? Why is this in there? So as you really get clean and you really clean up how you're eating, you'll start to feel something bother and you're like, well, I don't know what I ate. What did I eat? And you become like a food detective. With Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease. And Hashimoto's basically, and obviously I'm not a doctor, so everything I'm going to talk about is my own personal experience and what I have found. But one of the things about it is that it's not just, it attacks your thyroid, so now I'm going to take thyroid medication and I'm going to be okay, and that's it. There is a whole understanding and change that has to happen when you have an autoimmune disease, because foods greatly affect you. And when we sat down, she said, okay, here's the things that I don't want you eating anymore. She said, obviously you can't eat gluten, no dairy, no soy, no legumes, which you find out as you go along that things like peanuts actually are a legume where you think of it as a nut. And she said, no nightshades. And I was like, what the heck is a nightshade? I've never even heard these terms before. So
I think that's one of the characters in How to Train Your Dragon.
Exactly. You're like, what the heck is this? Right? So, and all you hear when you first go through this is no, 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 I can't not have this. No, 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 then you sit down and you go, what am I going to eat? Am I going to eat broccoli and carrots all the time? So, it's daunting and it's depressing. And you feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to enjoy anything again. And
your first thought is probably like, maybe it's easier to just buy a back scratcher.
Exactly. Or you just feel like, screw it, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
This far.
Exactly. I'm still living. But nightshades are peppers, they're eggplant, they're white potatoes, and tomatoes, which bell peppers and tomatoes I absolutely love. And, part of the thing is that because our food has been so perverted, over the years, where we have so much stuff that's GMO treated, it's been modified, where you're not eating the wheat that your grandparents ate, and we're not eating the bell peppers and the corn and the things that our grandparents ate, and soy. They've been so genetically modified that some of our bodies just can't take it. So for me, here I am trying to lose weight. I'm working out like a fiend. I sit down and make a delicious dinner. I make scallops and tomatoes and bell peppers and corn. And for me, I might as well just eat arsenic.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff that, like, on its face, you're like, okay, I'm not eating burger and fries. I'm not going to Dairy Queen. I'm not like, it's not fistfuls of chocolate. Like, you're thinking, I'm checking the right boxes.
I'm checking the right boxes, and I'm eating healthy. And why am I not losing weight? Some of the symptoms that I had, I just attributed to being older, because I'm 52. And I turned 50, obviously a few years ago. And so I had started to lose some hair, which I thought, well, as women get older, our hair starts to thin. That's kind of normal. But actually, when I started stacking up all of the symptoms that I had, it was a lot and it was a big deal, but I hadn't really connected the dots. So I had inflammation really bad. Like if I went to get a pedicure, just them rubbing my legs would hurt. And like if you walk next to me, people will like rub your arm, and say, hey, how you doing? That just hurt. And
like the skin hurt? Like would it hurt on the skin?
Not the skin, but just any light pressure, light pressure. Yeah. So even like a light massage would hurt. People walk up, and kind of like, oh. And my low back would hurt a lot. Like if I went and got a massage, I would have to be very specific. Like don't push with your fingertips. I need you to, push really lightly. And I was losing my hair. I was very irritable, which is very unlike me because I'm a very, very happy person. And I'm a program manager or project manager like you, Crystal. We know we've talked about that. Yeah. And people would just be calling me to do my job, and I'd be so angry. It'd be like, I need help with, oh my God, I don't want, why are they calling me? It's like,
I'm starting to think, oh dear, I better get to a doctor.
Glad you said it.
Have you been testing, Crystal? And I was extremely, extremely tired. No matter how much sleep I got, I could not. My husband is like, you're like a bear, you hibernate. And I'm like, I do, I'll 12, 16-hour day sleep anytime I want to. I love sleep. And yeah, exactly. But I also was starting to get a little panicky, which is definitely not like me. I'm not a panicker. I didn't have full out panic attacks, but I was getting very panicky. And then the worst symptom that I had for me was hives. Hives are the weirdest thing ever because I would break out in hives. It would come within 10 minutes. It would be gone within 10 minutes. Sometimes it was almost my whole body. Sometimes it might be one leg or one arm or both arms or my like up here, or it was just so weird. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So when I was told about Hashimoto's, I started really becoming, like I said, a food detective. And I was still playing the game of, well, I'll eat a little bit of dairy, but for someone like me that has an autoimmune disease, you can't do this like alcohol. It's not like, okay, I'm going to get trashed tonight. I'm going to feel bad tomorrow. And then Tuesday I'll be, recovered. It's toxic. It is literally like putting arsenic in our body. So you can't just ish it. I can't dairy ish it because, you got to cut it out. And so I made a choice last year in January that I was going to start cooking a lot. And I cook everything, and I don't go out a lot because it's really, really hard to find anywhere that's going to do everything like I want it to. And I drive the waiters crazy, and then eating at someone's house is just hard. I usually just bring my own thing. Of course, nobody's eating at anybody's houses right now, but
yeah. Well, then you got to be careful with driving the waiters crazy, because then you're like, well, how much gluten is in spit?
Exactly. Yes.
Or whatever other bodily fluids they throw in there. Oh.
But one of the reasons that I love the autoimmune warriors is, obviously everybody on there has an autoimmune disease, and we're all affected a little bit differently. But you can ask a question and nobody's, that would sound to anybody else like you're losing your mind. And it feels that way, and everybody's like, I know what you feel. Or somebody will say, I know what you feel. I've gone through that. And sometimes they've even said, this is how I got rid of it. And it works. So you might have someone like the other day, I heard someone talk about, it was almost like they get a sunburn from the inside. I had never heard of this. And all of a sudden they'll get just like a dark, dark, dark spot on their skin. And it looks like they've been burned. And I'd never heard of this. And so somebody posted and said, hey, this is going on with me. Has anybody else heard of this? And immediately someone's all like, oh yeah, I get that. And they're swapping pictures and they're talking about things that have helped them. And it's just a comforting feeling. Sometimes people will just say, I just slept 12 hours and I still feel like I'm fixing to, go right back to sleep. I know you guys know how I feel, and we do know how they feel. I say all the time, I'm sleepwalking, or sleep working. Because even though I'm generally hyper, like I talk very fast, I'm still at the same time right now, I could definitely go lay down for 12 hours.
Wow.
So you have people that feel that way. But one of the number one things, Crystal, and one of the reasons that I wanted to be on your show and share is because I can't tell you how many people will go on there and say, I go to my doctor, I get tested, they tell me nothing's wrong with me, all my levels are normal, and I'm losing my mind. because they're having all these symptoms and someone's telling them that there's nothing wrong with them. When I went to my normal doctor after I went to Dr. Minnie and I said, hey, I need to give you these test results. I've tested for celiac and Hashimoto's. She was shocked. And she said, I would have never tested you for this. She said, you had no symptoms of this. And some of it is that I didn't share all of the strange things that I was going through. I didn't really think about it.
You didn't realize.
I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes things just happen. You don't even realize that they're a symptom. Like you wouldn't have even thought to, like the itching. I mean, my scalp itches a lot. I don't know. Maybe that means something. I never really thought about it, I don't know. But I wouldn't have, if the doctor was like, how are you doing? I wouldn't have been like, well, my scalp itches,
Exactly. And since the hives would come and go so fast, I would only think about them when I had them. And I wouldn't think about them later. You could have probably asked me, do you have hives? And I would have said no, because I just don't think about it when I'm not in it.
Think of them as situational, like, oh, there was something going on and I got excited or ramped up or nervous, and then I got unnervous and now they're gone. That's not a condition. That's just something that happened.
That's stress or, something that happened. Right. Exactly. But the other thing about when I joke about being the food detective, and, one of the things that's been frustrating in this journey is the fact that the food industry gets away with murder when it comes to what they have to report on labels. And if something is under a certain percentage now, they don't have to report it. So imagine if I made you a cake and I brought it over and I said, there's only 2% of arsenic in here. You know what I mean? But let's say that you're going to have, which you might have several pieces of it. Well, now you're talking about a lot, and so the other frustrating thing has been that you buy something that you've ate for a while, you've checked the labels and everything is fine. And all of a sudden you're reacting to it and you don't know why you're reacting to it. And now you turn it around and the ingredients have changed. And now, there's something in there that was never an issue before, or there's something in there that's an issue, but was not in there before. So like one of the things I love is nut cheese. So I eat cashew cheese and it's nut cheese, and I make a pizza. I can make you a beautiful pizza that hits all my parameters. And all of a sudden I noticed that my stomach was bothering me every time I ate this cheese and I couldn't figure it out why. So I flipped it around, had potato starch in it now, and has a bean in it now. Never had this before. I don't know why it's added it. There's no notification that, hey, by the way, our ingredients have changed. If I had the connections and the money, I'd become an anti-food lobbyist for that reason. And I would say, I want everything put on these labels. And if you make a change, I want that noted, because people will say, look at our new packaging, right? Or upgraded this or whatever. But they don't have to say, oh, by the way, we changed the ingredients. So, you do feel like you're losing your mind. My husband is probably one of the most supportive people in the world. And I'll say, I'm breaking out. And he'll go, why? You eat that all the time. It's like, and I'm like, I don't know. I think this is bothering me. It's like, you eat it all. And like, it is frustrating. And a lot of the women, and it mostly, especially for Hashimoto's, affects women more than men. But most of the time you will see that it's women on there and their husbands are just, they think they're nuts. They don't understand because their symptoms are so strange and they come and go and they're not consistent. And you start to feel like you're a little nuts. So you do become the great food detective. And I do joke, Tom, that I mess with waiters and stuff, but I think one of the pieces of advice I would give people is don't feel bad if you really have to dig at a restaurant. But I tell them up front, I'm a great tipper. I'm going to drive you crazy, but I'm going to tip you really well for this, and I'm going to say, hey, I need, if there's something in here that I'm not sure of, I need to see that label. If you can provide me the label or tell me, I have to see it because there's sneaky stuff. So you're reading your labels and you see, okay, that checks about natural flavoring. We have no idea what that means, and that can be something that hurts you and you didn't know it was going to happen.
So how has your quality of life changed since you were diagnosed, and what is it like today compared to before you were diagnosed?
I have pain that I didn't used to have. When I've always worked out pretty hard. For the last 10 years since I started just cycling in general, I've worked out very hard. And I would have your normal soreness from working out. But I have extra pain I didn't have before. I have pains in my hip. I have pains in my knees. Sometimes I used to joke, especially when I was running a lot. When Peloton first got into the running aspect, and I already had my treadmill, I was running a lot. And in fact, last year I was training for my first 10K. And I would wake up every day and feel literally like a truck had hit me. And it would wake me up all night long. I'd have pain in my shoulders. It would wake me up. And so that's when I really tightened down the food. where I didn't ish it anymore. I did it exactly as I'm supposed to. If I mess up, it's because something snuck in that I missed. I can't say that, hey, autoimmune people, if you just exercise perfectly and get your food perfect and get your meds perfect, you're not going to have any symptoms, because that's not the case. But I have tamped down 90% of my symptoms. I don't itch anymore. If I itch, I know something has snuck in that I don't, and I would itch like crazy. We would be out at a restaurant and Michael would look at me, my eyes would just get real big, and then I'd start kind of reach down. He could tell I was itching my ankle, it's like, you're weird. I know. But I think I have more pain and I'm tired a lot. I'm really tired a lot. And that's very common, but I push through it. One of the cool things that I wanted to share with you guys that I did that was really neat this summer was in April, I reached out to a lot of my fellow team members. I work for a very large corporation. And I've sold a lot of Pelotons to other people, and I have a lot of friends that ride. And I got our company together riding on Saturdays, and there were over 50 of us, and it's been very exciting. And I think as we are here and we're going to be here for a while, not being able to be out and be together, that hey, reach out to other people in your company, put together something, because that's been really fun. I actually want to be a fitness ambassador for my company. I'm creating my own title. Really getting the word out, because the other thing is, look, I'm 52, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I move, just move. Don't let the autoimmune disease or your pain. I mean, there are people that have serious pain, Crystal. I mean, I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying in general, get up and try to do something, get up and move. I move, and I try to motivate others that I'm not going to let being older, I'm not going to let have an autoimmune disease, I'm not going to let being overweight keep me from moving, because one of the things I have noticed is when I stop moving, way worse. It's way worse. Yeah, I hurt a little bit more when I work out, but I am just miserable. And the brain fog of not moving. Dairy, I have to say the number one thing I cut out besides gluten was dairy, was the key thing that took out the brain fog. I mean, it was night and day.
So it sounds like eating better has helped you feel mentally better, even if it doesn't always help your physical symptoms.
Exactly. Dairy did. Dairy has a huge thing with brain fog. It's very common that dairy can be connected with brain fog. And I noticed that I would get up in the morning and there was days I would just stare at my computer for about 30 minutes and I just couldn't get rolling. I couldn't put my thoughts together or my day together and figure out, okay, this is what I want to do first. I just would just stare at it. And that was gone after I finished out, after I stopped eating dairy, that was gone.
What made you decide to get tested and stuff whenever you didn't feel like you had necessarily symptoms that stood out to you? Like, what prompted you to have that conversation?
So when I went to that presentation by Dr. Minnie and she was listing a lot of the symptoms, I was like, oh my God, I've got that and that. And it just was like this laundry list. And I was like, oh my God, I have all that. And so I didn't have everything, obviously, but I had a big list and stuff that I had never realized how many symptoms I had until I put it all together. And so that was what really was the key. And then when we sat down, I figured she was just going to say, Stacey, you're over 52 or you're over 50, you're facing menopause, your body's going to slow down, you're going to have some changes. And that was not the conversation at all. It was like, you got this and this going on, and these are going to affect you in these ways. And here's some things we can do to change it, but you got to take it seriously, and I did. And I took it very seriously on the gluten piece. I didn't take it as seriously on the rest. And then when I really started researching Hashimoto's and how much food affected it, then I made the changes. And I think one of the things that it's hard to see when you're in the middle of it is that you don't realize how much better you can feel. So you think, oh, I'm not really going to cut out dairy. But when you get on the other side of it and you feel this much better, there's no way I'm eating that now. It's the cost is too great. It's not like a hangover. If it was a hangover, if it was one day of whatever, sure, I'd probably, eat some things I shouldn't eat. But when it's a long lasting thing to your body and changes so many things chemically, you just don't.
So if you did that, if you were like, I'm going to go get ice cream or I'm going to have a glass of milk, like how long do you feel the after effects from something like that?
There's a lot of science behind that. And I would love to get some feedback on that question, Tom, from actually somebody that's a doctor. But for me, there's a lot of things with leaky gut, right? So depending on what you read, the autoimmune disease causes the leaky gut, or you'll read that the leaky gut causes the autoimmune disease. But leaky gut comes when you get perforations or thinness in the lining of your intestines and things because of what you eat, and it creates an opening. And now these things that should be flowing through your body are not. They're flowing through your body but coming out. And these biles and toxins and things that you're eating are now floating through your system, which is what causes a lot of the problems. So my understanding and working with many is that I'm healing my gut at the moment. And so I think that anytime that I would drink, first of all, if I had dairy, I'd be in brain fog by tomorrow morning. That would probably last at least a week. And then I don't know on the inside what's going on at the same time. Did that affect the leaky gut? Did that tear down a little bit of lining? I'm not really sure. So there's not a direct correlation that I could say, if I drink milk, I'll feel it for 7 days, but I will feel it for a while. And then of course, if I drink milk and then have ice cream and then have cheese and then, then it just builds up, and then the brain fog will build up.
Now it's a bender.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
I was just going to say, it sounds like it's also cumulative. So the more that you have, the worse that the symptoms are.
So outside of like the Facebook group and reading the labels, like what sort of resources do you utilize to kind of discover what doesn't affect you?
So there is a doctor named Dr. Isabella Wentz, and she wrote a book called The Hashimoto Protocol. That's kind of been my Bible in a lot of respects. And one of the things that she does, Crystal, which might be good for you to check out if you've never done it, is there's an autoimmune protocol elimination diet. Think of Whole30, but a little bit more strict. And so you eliminate stuff and then you slowly bring them back in to see how they affect you. And her program is a 90-day program, and it actually can turn your symptoms around. So she has one that focuses on the adrenal, and then she has others that focus on different things. But that was a very fascinating thing for me, Tom, to go through and learn. And one of the key things that's kind of fascinating that I learned was when you eat something that bothers you, a lot of people will clear their throat a while afterwards. And so she was like, "Is there anything that you eat?" And you go, and I'm like, "Milk." Milk does that. The other thing, Tom, too, is that you don't always feel anything when you eat something that's not good for you initially. So like I can probably go and eat tons of lima beans and kidney beans, and not really notice anything, but there's damage that's being done. Some things are immediate. Your stomach hurts. Like if I eat chickpeas, I'll be doubled over. That's the worst. That's the worst thing ever I've eaten. That was pain. That was pure pain. Huh. But then some things are like, I might itch a little bit, or I might clear my throat a little bit, or, my stomach might hurt. But then there's some things that they're doing stuff on the inside that, you don't really feel symptoms for. And that's the stuff that's scary, because you think, well, this doesn't really bother me. I can probably go ahead and eat this. The good thing is there's so many great groups out there, whether you are autoimmune, if you're like, hey, I want to eat paleo, or I want to eat paleo autoimmune, or I want to eat vegan paleo, or there's something out there and there's cookbooks out there and there's recipes out there, so once you kind of get rolling, then there's a lot of resources to help you.
And so if you could rewind kind of back to the beginning of this whole process, what do you wish that you had known then? Like what's the biggest thing?
I wish that I would have ever even heard of functional medicine. Functional medicine is, for me, it's a life changer. And I will tell you, it's not cheap. It's about $6,000 to go through what I went through. My process was that I hooked up with Dr. Minnie. We went through the testing, and then she got me on a very specific program, and I take 2 medicines. She got me off a lot of medicine because I was taking water pills, because that's what I thought that the inflammation was from. I thought it was from retaining water, and it wasn't. And she put me on a 6-month program on the computer where it just slowly went through foods and why we need to eliminate them and different things. Now, they've got even more specific, getting into like your skincare and your makeup and, what cooking utensils you use and microwaving. I haven't gotten that deep yet. But I wish that I would have known about functional medicine earlier to know that all these symptoms building up were something important and something big. And it wasn't just that I was turning 50 or that you think, oh, I'm 50 pounds overweight, so that's why I'm tired. But it wasn't. So, I think I would have loved to have really started the functional medicine journey a lot earlier.
What do you wish that like other people would know about things like this that they don't?
They're not crazy. If they go to their doctor, if they know something's wrong, like they're just extremely tired for no reason, like they're getting their normal sleep. I mean, obviously if you're a mom and you're getting 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, you're going to be tired. But if they're, getting what they feel like is their normal amount of sleep, that they should feel pretty rested, or they're itching like crazy, or they're irritable a lot when they're really not, or they're losing their hair. That's a big one. Tom, you better get checked. That, they're not crazy and they should go get tested, and to try to find a functional medicine doctor to test with, because, they're going to understand these symptoms and the nutrition side and how food affects things a lot differently than your normal doctor. But I'm not giving up my normal doctor. I mean, I pair them, I think they're both very important.
Right. I'm just curious, and you might not have an answer for this, but with the functional doctor, how often do they run tests and then say, no, you're good, eat what you want?
Oh, I would love to have that. So I get tested every 6 months, and I have another test coming up. And the first thing that we did was we got my TSH levels, which are related to the thyroid, right, because it was too low, and she adjusted that. And I got on what's called compounded medicines. And that makes a big difference. So with Synthroid for thyroid, that is a synthetic medicine. And so I have a compounded medicine that's actually better for you, and it's better for me. And then also I'm on a compounded, what's called naltrexone. Now, if you look up naltrexone, it will show that that's taken by people who have drinking problems. So if I mention that, people are like, oh, are you an alcoholic? No, it is actually really good for people with autoimmune diseases. So there won't be a point, Tom, that I don't think that I'll ever get to okay, you're good now, you can go ahead and eat all of that. There may be a point in time where I get my leaky gut, fixed, and maybe I can have beans every once in a while, or I could have tomatoes every once in a while. I can never have gluten, never.
And I actually didn't mean in terms of yourself, in terms yay, you're fixed.
Right. Right.
I just meant that by virtue of definition, I don't think that everyone has an autoimmune issue. So I'm just curious, how often do they do these tests and then find oh no, you're good, not you're now good and you whatever you've done is rectified yourself. And
but the percentage of people they test in general, what's the rate of people who have an autoimmune disease who get tested at from a functional fitness doctor? How often do those come back as you're okay? I think that's what Tom's asking.
Oh, yeah. That would be good to know. I don't know. Yeah. That would be an interesting.
I'm just curious because I'm if everybody's got it, then you're gonna look at it sideways.
Right,
not if everybody goes to the doctor for an X-ray and they all have broken legs, you're like, well, maybe you're breaking their leg. So I was just curious. Like I said, you don't work there, so I don't expect you to know. I just thought you might have had some insight there.
Yes, that's a very fascinating fact. And it was kind of one of the things when she initially told me I had Hashimoto's and celiac, I was like, is this lady a quack? Because,
yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't think anything was quote unquote wrong, then that would be pretty shocking to hear those results back. So I can understand why you would question that. But obviously when you made changes, you saw that there were results that changed. So I'm sure that made you feel like that was legit.
It did. The itching was the biggest, Crystal, because that was every night. It would be my head and my face and my ankles, and it would just itch for 15, 20 minutes. And it was just miserable. And I know my husband just had to, he never really said much, but I know he had to be thinking what is wrong with her?
Sit still.
So do you feel like now that you've started doing this, how's that pair with your fitness level? Do you feel like your fitness level is better, or do you feel like they're relatively unaffected?
I feel like my fitness level is better. I've always been an endurance person, but I feel like I was more of a zone 3, a solid zone 3, where now more and more I get up into the 5s and the 6s and sometimes hit the 7s, So I do think, there's days that I just feel powerful, and I didn't have many feeling powerful days before this. So yeah, I do feel like that it has changed. I mean, there's still some days, on the weekends, I'm still going to sleep 12 hours a night on Friday and Saturday. People say you can't catch your sleep up. Yes, you can. You can. But I need that. My body has to have that because I push it pretty hard. We have a challenge going on at work right now, and it's, we're competing for steps, and there's 130 teams, and my team is second. So there is no rest days, 9 weeks of no rest days for sure,
Yeah, you said you work for a big corporation, and my first thought was I hope it's not Archer Daniels Midland. That would be
that would be bad. It is not.
fired.
It is not. Crystal and Tom, you were talking about like I'm members of different groups, and there's definitely one I want to call out. And one of the things that, is another piece of advice that I would have for people that are getting their Pelotons is, I'm a co-admin for the Texas 6 a.m. tribe. And this tribe was started about 4 years ago by Gravel Girl. And Gravel Girl and Swinky 57 and Boston Girl in Texas and Jay the Barbecue Guy, we've all been riding together for about 4 years. And it's nice because all of us mostly ride at 6 a.m., hence the name of the tribe. But, back when we started, it was Robin was in the mornings and Jess King was in the mornings and Stephen Little was in the mornings and Nicole Moline was in the mornings. And then you had JJ's, 80s ride on Friday, which was massive. And that was my favorite ride of the week. And we all ride together. But, there's a lot of times now because people are all in different challenges now. And some are doing the Power Zone challenges and some are doing the Peloton challenges. So we don't ride as much together as we used to. But get that person, get that buddy, get that team. Because like Jay the Barbecue Guy and I, we have rode together every Monday or at least once a week doing a Power Zone Max ride for over 2 years now. And I hate that they're not coming out with them very much anymore. They've started a little bit, which is great, but it was down to like 7 of them after they did the Great Purge, and I won't miss that ride because I know Jay's getting up, to be on that ride with me. So, get your partner, get your person. I've had some friends that have bought Pelotons because of me. And the funny thing about it is that both of these people are hard bodies and one of them's a marathoner, and they get on the bike and they're like, how are you beating me? Because I'm beating them and I'm beating them bad, but it's like, it's all new muscles. It's all new breathing. It's all new different things, which I got to be humbled, Crystal, because, I just got my hydro. And I got on the hydro, and I am at the bottom of the leaderboard.
So you got to remind yourself, all new muscles.
All new muscles, all new. And I'm like, I didn't believe that when I told them that. I was just saying it. Now I got to buy it.
I was being nice. You got to be careful with the hydro because if you're at the bottom, you might drown.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm drowning, but I've gotten humbled because it is all new, and I am so slow. And then I'm learning new techniques.
Well, so you threw out all these leaderboard names. What's your leaderboard name, and how'd you come up with it?
So my leaderboard name is Suicide Blonde, and I picked that name because I love 80s music, and I love InXS, and InXS had that song, and because obviously I am blonde, and I just felt like back when I was going to get a tattoo of either Concrete Blonde or Suicide Blonde. I never did get it, but it just kind of stuck with me. So that is my leaderboard name on both. It's on Peloton and on Hydro. I was able to get it on both.
Awesome.
Maybe your husband's can be Dagwood.
Well, my husband is like you, Tom. He does not get on the bike. He does not get on the rower. He does not get on the tread. The only difference is that he will go to a gym. But right now, with no gyms open, he's not doing anything. So I don't have to share. And, at first I wanted him on that bike. But then I'm kind of like, I don't want to have to adjust the bike. I don't want to have to get on and the seat's not up or because you've talked about that, Crystal, where you're like, I know if Tom rode that bike, I'd have to get over there and then I'd have to change all the settings,
True.
And I would too. So I'm like, well, maybe it's not such a bad thing that he didn't get on the bike.
You got to make.
She gets frustrated when I have to drive her car.
I do. Yeah. Yesterday he had graduations too, and he is like, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" I was like, "What's wrong with my car? What happened?"
I was like, nothing. Why is that your go-to? Like, what if I was gonna? You know what I was gonna do? I was so close to doing this. I was gonna lay down on the ground and have someone take a picture of me and then have my boss text it to you and be like, hey, Tom fell, but your car is okay.
I love it. All we're worried about the car.
Yeah, the car's okay. We're taking Tom to the ER though.
I'll meet you there.
Do you have any advice for people that are just now getting a Peloton?
I do. I think the thing is, Crystal, some of my advice is advice that you've given before. But one of the things is that don't care about what other people are saying and don't care about competing against somebody else, right? Like the first time I took a Matt Wilpers ride, I literally said, I will never ride him again. He started calling out those numbers that he hits. And I thought, I will never hit that. Well, of course I'm never going to hit that. I mean, we're at a totally different fitness level, size level, weight level, everything.
Exactly.
But in my mind, I just was so disappointed that I couldn't hit those numbers, which was silly. And I wasn't going to ride him again. And then I got past that. And now, of course, I love Power Zone training. Robin is my favorite. Robin will always be my favorite. Robin is my, I don't want to work out ride. You know, I get up, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I don't want to work out. And she'll just get that out of you in about 1 minute. You know, she will, you cannot be feeling sorry for yourself on a Robin ride. You know, she's going to talk about what a privilege it is to be there. And you get that. And you do start pounding on your chest on that ride. I've done that more than once. The other thing is to try an instructor more than once. And you've said that, right? So like Cody is an instructor that just never gelled with me. I rode him once. His vibe didn't work for me. And then I just took his Britney Spears ride. And that was literally the funnest ride I've ever had. I mean, I loved that ride. So I think, you know, try, you've said that, try an instructor more than once if they don't work for you, because sometimes it's just a different feeling. And I just had so much fun on that ride. A quick PSA that I wanted to just share for 1 second was that last year when I was training for my first 10K, I had an issue with my eye. And I had, in a nutshell, I lost all of the vision in my right eye within an hour. And it was the scariest thing that I ever went through. And I had a small tear in my retina, and I was running on it. And I didn't realize that I had that, and it hemorrhaged. And when I couldn't see, all the blood had flowed to the back of my eye, and I couldn't see. And the reason that I share that is if you are having any kind of floaters that you haven't had before, or you're having any light, you know, you're seeing flashes of light, you need to get to a retina specialist really fast. If I had understood what I was seeing, because I was seeing floaters, it would have been a simple procedure in a doctor's office with a laser in 10 minutes. But because I didn't, and I was running on it, and it hemorrhaged, it was a $50,000 difference. And I had to have surgery in a hospital and so forth. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of share that because it was something that was pretty dramatic for me last year. And luckily it's fully healed now. So, you know, that's been a good thing. But, you know, the thing about Peloton, guys, is that they just get better and better and better, you know, and they never are complacent and they're never content. They are always striving to be. You look at Crystal, at what they had on that bike when we got our bike. Mm-hmm. They didn't have high fives. They didn't have more music versus more instructor. They didn't have this Power Zone grid. They didn't have so many of those features, and they don't sit still. Right. You know, they don't just say, hey, we are so awesome. We're the number one. We don't have to make any changes. They keep getting better. They ask for feedback from the community on a regular basis of, hey, what else can we do? You know, what are some things that we can do? And they continually strive to be better, and they listen. And literally, they have the best customer service of any company I've ever dealt with. I mean, bar none. I just think they're fantastic. I have thought a couple times of what if they ever had a moment where you could have like where you could send in something, maybe you donate to a charity, but you could have them do a call out for you, like a shout out ride. You know what I mean? You know, like, you know, it's like, you know, like for example, Crystal, it's your anniversary with Tom, and he's paid them to have some, you know, to have Jen Sherman do a shout out, you know, to Crystal from Tom, you know, kind of thing. I thought that would be kind of a neat thing, but I love. Yeah.
I mean, radio stations do that sometimes when they do like request-a-thon.
That's what I'm looking for.
$100 they'll play a song, maybe even a song that format doesn't normally play. Like that could be a cool little fundraiser.
That would be neat.
That's a good idea.
It is. Yeah.
Especially something for charity.
Awesome. Well, before we go, where can people find you on social media if you would like to be found?
So you can find me on Facebook. I am on Instagram, but I don't really do much on there. So my name is spelled Stacey, and my last name is Rivere, and it's Rivere. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only Stacey Rivere on Facebook. I have looked a couple times and haven't seen anybody else. But if somebody wants to reach out, you know, maybe they're having some symptoms and they want to ask some questions, I'll share what I know. If, you know, they want some more information about the doctor that I used or her practice, she does stuff virtually, I can share information about that. If they think that some of the things that I've said have resonated with them, I absolutely encourage them to check out the Peloton Autoimmune Warriors, because they can go in there and ask that question, and people will. You never see somebody post something and nobody responds. You know, usually it's responded to very quickly, and I've gotten a lot of help through there where I've asked, have you guys ever seen this? And did you? And then somebody's like, oh yeah, I had xanthan gum. That's what I had, xanthan gum, and it was what caused hives. Well, guess what? It was what caused hives for me. So yeah,
it's great to be able to crowdsource stuff like that.
It is.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's something like that you've never even heard. What the heck is xanthan gum? And then you look at foods and you find out it's in several different things. So yes, definitely reach out if you want to ask me any questions, or if there's any way that I can share my story or motivate somebody, I would be happy to.
That's wonderful.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for taking time to join us. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Stacey.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So I guess that brings this one to a close. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
Next week, we're going to talk to Rich Payton. He is a member of the Peloton app group, as well as some other Peloton groups, but he does not have a bike. However, he has made use of the Peloton classes and had a major weight loss. And he has changed his entire life. And I can't wait to talk to him about that.
Cool. So we have that to look forward to. Until then, where can people find you?
People can find me at facebook.com/CrystalDO'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on the bike, and of course the tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/theclipout, and of course sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling
and running.
Clip in, set yourself free.